Good morning. Whoa. Oh, dang. Hold on one second. My camera. I see what's going on. I'll be right back. One second. That's weird. Camera's not working today. That's okay. I had it unplugged earlier. Now that it's plugged back in, it's not working. But anyways, we'll just work without a camera today. No big deal. Oh. So anyways, good morning. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks, chat. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So as you can probably tell by the title of today's video and the thumbnail, is that the market entered a sell move. There's a lot of things going on here with the old Bitcoin chart. We will get into that maybe a little later, but ultimately the market entered a sell move today, and we've just gone through a little bit of a bounce. So that's pretty much it. So today our sell move started here. Once the market broke down pretty much right there, that's when the market entered a bearish market. And that bearish market has lasted from pretty much the wee hours of the morning when you were sleeping with your head in a pillow, all dreaming about all of that money you probably weren't going to make today. And then it lasted until about 10:30 this morning, and then we bounce, right? And actually, we're still in a sell move. It's not even that we're not. We're still actually in a bear market right now on the S&P. I know it may not seem like it, but this is a bear market, right? I mean, you can clearly see up, hold, support, roll over by end of day, and breakdown. That's bear, right? And then that's an oversold bounce. And so that bearish market has started since pretty much like 4 a.m. They pretty much used the after hours transition into the pre-market session today to break support, run a nice short earlier in the morning, and then allow for some follow through today. That's pretty much what's going on. So for those of you that may be in our private group, there's a link in the description if you're that interested. But if you are, then you guys will know that the recommendation today was to basically be pop too short, sell the market to start today. That thesis did end up holding true, so that was cool. And yeah, so it's kind of it. Market is bearish, so it's a pop to sell market. And then I would say the last little tidbit of the story was to look for today's extension targets of at least 161. So as far as our gap target for today, it was 161. That was even posted to the old Twitsky here. So if we look at Twitter, this was posted at 9:31 a.m. So if you look, I posted this on the opening 1 minute opening 1 minute on the day. So market opens at 9:30. This was posted at 9:31. Literally the first minute of market open, already telling you the target, right? So, and then you can see within just the first 1 minute, look at how much of the market had completed the destination of that target. So this is kind of there to help you guys understand that, the market is not designed to be easy just because, we can come on here and say, hey, this is probably where we're looking for the market to go. And then even though it does go there, 70% of that drop arguably was done within the first 1 minute of the day, right? So, and partly I'll say that's because, again, high frequency trading and computers run the market. So take something like this that arguably consistently works day in, day out, week in, week out, right? And if computers know that, they can take advantage of that. So a lot of times you can have a situation like today that we have a gap down, or it could have been a gap up, and markets are going to trade even for a little bit in the direction of the gap, go get a 161 target like we kind of are showing here today. And most of it happens really, really quickly to the point where unless you were basically buying right into the open, at the start of the open, right before the open, you can miss a good portion of that initial move there. So that's something to think about too. And again, as we said the other day, if you're, don't trade the open, you wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, again, a lot of times you can miss 70% of that move. So again, this is a strategy for at the open, into starting in the morning, things like that. So anyways, that was our downside. And when I say that was, it just means that was our downside destination as it relates to that specific strategy. Okay. And since we had a gap down today, that means we can apply that down. So we're going to be looking for a gap and then move down. And then we're going to target, since there's a gap, to the 161. So the completion of that 161 destination move happened today at about 10:10 a.m. or something like that. Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much that. That sell move happens today at about 10:10 a.m. We hit our downside destination. And you can see we've gone through a really nice bounce and then. That can happen. You can hit your sell targets. Because a lot of times, and it's not always the case, but do remember that if you hit a sell target, it can be a long target. Because naturally, a good support, right? If think about it this way. If you're one who wants to get in on the absolute low or bottom of a market, wouldn't that be the best possible target for a short? Right? Think about it. Generally, your good long targets are going to be short entries, and a lot of times your good short targets will be long entries. And the reason that's the case is because just that, right? The objective of someone who's going bearish the market is to take something as far as they possibly can to the downside. And somebody who's long the market, the main objective would be to hopefully have it go as far as it can possibly go to the upside. And then hold it for the last moment before it starts to go the other way, right? So naturally, the way the market hopefully works is that if you're bearish, you have a play that goes really, really far in the correct direction. And then if you're long, hopefully you get in right at the bottom. So again, that just is kind of to emphasize. A lot of times your good sell targets can be a long entry and so on and so forth. And another way you can think of that is if everyone who's selling the market, both just in general and because they're short sellers or bearish, if they achieve their sell target, then why would they keep selling? They wouldn't. They would stop selling and then they would cover, right? So if sell targets met and people stop selling, then the opposite normally occurs. So another reason why a lot of times sell targets are good long targets is because you also get, no more selling activity on the short side, and then those that have been short then cover their short, and then that sort of pressure then convinces long traders that the bottom's in, so then they buy, and then you have a bottom, right? So that's kind of how that generally works a lot of times. Oh. So yeah, right now we're just kind of going through a bounce. It's probably, there's a good chance the market's going to be going all the way back to, it's no guarantee, obviously, but there's a high chance we're looking at the market to go back to 6,063.86. And if it's the SPY, then arguably looking for the market to go back to $605.82. I might have to double check some things before we say that, but if the market keeps doing what it's been doing, that's exactly what's going to happen. And it may, the SMA may chase down the market, but at this point we're probably not looking at selling the market away from the SMA anymore. We're probably looking at getting the price to go back to it / the SMA to come to it. So in some fashion of either bring price up or bring price up some bit and this comes down. But right now we should basically be looking to get the price of the market to re-interact with the 50 SMA. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, it's not, when you look at the price action of the market, we're not below these lows. So, you know, this to me is just a short-term breakdown in the market. So a short-term bear market, which we have taken to a previous low. We've taken it to our gap 161. So, you know, what else is there to do with it right now? That's something I'm kind of thinking of. 1 second, let me bring this up. Yeah, but I gotta double check and actually go into this stuff before I say that, because normally the only time we're gonna look to bring the market up like that is we gotta start getting above, which I know we'd be above on the 1 minute, but we'd have to be doing some stuff here. Yeah, what am I saying? Yep, cool. So you're above that, and then actually, I gotta do something else too. Why is it purple? Change it back to blue. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I see extended hour, so that's the immediate, then get through, then we should retest. Just all the way up here. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I can't say you should be... Generally speaking, once we start to get... We'll see. We'd have to get back below it, but... yeah, I mean, I can't really look at this market to be extremely bearish for the moment. Even though we are in a sell move, that's the other problem, is we are in a sell move. So, until we actually get over the 50 SMA, we're not supposed to be bullish. But I just feel this is a market where the 50, we're going to either jump back up to the 50 SMA / do some catch up. I just don't think we're going to sell the market away from it. So I just think the market's going to go through a counter long again and then just reset back to the 50 SMA. Obviously, you know, that's kind of against the narrative, which is as long as the market is below the 50 SMA, it's bearish, which is true, right? We broke down here. Then we did a gap down. We went and got the 161 target of the SPX. Where this bounce is starting to clear a lot of the volume weighted average prices from the sell move. So now there's not a whole lot of people that are short the market from the sell move that are probably even profitable at this point. The only people that would be profitable on the short from the 50 SMA at this point would be anyone who participated in the market bearish from, you know, either yesterday's high, right, or from the 50 SMA point, anyone participating at, you know, right at the end of after hours, 4 in the morning, even the low of the 4 a.m. candle would be underwater on the short. So then that would only leave every other candle until 6:30, and that price, they would have to be above the price of 605.05 anyway. So again, a lot of people from the overnight sell move are underwater on shorts. Not many, if any, would be profitable on the short from the time of the breakdown at this point. So when that starts to happen, a lot of times you can kind of keep forcing people out of their move. So we'll see. I mean, this is all very intricate stuff that I'm talking about. the simplest thing would be to say to you, and that is, as long as the market is below the price of 605.83, we're not on a positive long trend. What we're under is a sell move that has gotten sold down, and it's an oversold now bounce that arguably may go back to a positive trend. All right. And then side note, it's just looking at the market, it's too soon clearly for this to break down. And when I say break down, I mean break down price structure. We already broke down and went negative this morning at 4 a.m. That was a breakdown. But that wasn't a breakdown that takes out this structure. So it's just one of those scenarios where we went bearish, broke the market down, previous low, bounce, right? So, yeah, it's just not a huge breakdown right now. But as per the title of the video, the stock market did enter a sell signal this morning at 4 a.m. There's a couple other things that, kind of convinced me, well, this was the other thing too. We were using the VIX here, breaking out the VIX on the weekly to kind of help bring the market down, and then we used the VIX weekly 50 SMA back test as a reason to watch the market kind of keep forcing up, and then obviously the breakdown of the weekly 50 SMA really threw the market back into a long pump. So here's the thing, is just because the market is bearish on the SPY and we're below the 50 SMA, right? There are still levels on the VIX that can be used as intraday catalyst to then long the market, right? So though we can look at the market today and say, yeah, it's below the 50 SMA, it's not bullish, bullish in the sense that it's not a positive trend, there are levels on the VIX that we can use though, right? And so one of those today was the weekly 50 SMA. So let's look at the VIX here. And actually, I don't even know why I'm doing that. I don't need to be doing that. That's why I set up hotkeys, bro. Alrighty, here we go. I should bring up the VIX. There you go. So now you should be looking at the VIX. Alright, so let me, I'm going to delete this stuff real quick. Clear drawing set. Alright, so, we're going to bring up a weekly chart here. Wait, where'd it go? It's right here. Alright, we're going to bring up this weekly chart. Alright, so looking at this weekly chart, what do we see here? Big SMA right here. See this one? I know it may not look like much to you because it's just some random line in a chart, but bottom line is that's the weekly 50 SMA. Alright? So when we come into here, we got the weekly 50 SMA today. And that's going to be at this price of 15.26. So I'm going to put that line there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to an intraday chart. So this is that weekly 50 SMA. I'll even type right here, make it all cute for you guys. Okay. So this would be the market breaking out of the weekly 50 SMA. This would be the market going to back test the weekly 50 SMA, breaking it, and just maintaining below. So this tells us today that the market attempted a breakout on the volatility index above the long-term weekly chart, which ultimately resulted in a failed hold and back below. So in this moment, there's a couple things, but you could say right here in this moment, when the market on the VIX breaks back down the weekly 50 SMA, that would just be the weekly 50 SMA trend holding bearish. So what happens if we're signaled that the weekly trend on the VIX is still bearish? Oh, the market might get bullish. So hence, even though the market may not be in a buy signal, there was a bearish rejection on the VIX today, which can result in buying pressure on the market. And that's what also really helped this long get picked up off the bottom here today on SPY. Again, you can see we had this really nice bounce off the low today. That bounce off the low was also accompanied with the VIX false breakout and break down back under the 50 SMA. So we kind of use a little bit of that VIX weekly to help, add some fuel to that bounce. All right. Now, if the market had sustained the breakout, we wouldn't have got as aggressive of a bounce here, most likely. Okay. And that is all off the back of the market on the VIX is positive. So I'm going to bring up this chart here. So again, this is the 30-minute chart, which basically just tells us that since yesterday here, where I'm adding this line, the market's been in a buy move. So we can transition over to a pre-market. So since yesterday, or maybe that was maybe that was Friday, really in the after hours, but either way, 2 days back chart, gap up, that's a breakout, market's turning positive. So we've gotten a nice bullish run on the market past 2 days. We're able to gap and bring the market down, so on and so forth. So kind of a goofy market is really what that means, because again, we're just kind of riding in between price action, doing these small back and forth short-term positive to negative buying operations. So we're doing short-term buy and sell moves. Whenever the market is, breaking the 50 SMA up and breaking it down, but not having kind of continuation and a ton of direction off of those moves, you're usually just consolidating, which is normal. But when that starts to happen, you have to recognize it and then, not be looking for things just to keep going in one direction for forever, because that just doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. All right. Good morning, Eugene Panini. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let me copy and paste this stream. We're going to take that bad boy over here. Hold on, give me just 1 second. We'll kind of continue on. Sorry, I'm just sharing this to the old Twitsky. There we go. Alrighty, is there a discount offer going on or soon to be? Generally, that'll be around some sort of, well, I mean, we have Christmas coming up, so we'll probably do something like, we usually do something like towards the end of that, like after Christmas, let people, hang out with their family, not bombard them with sales and stuff, and then after we'll do something. So probably around like the New Year or something like that, we might send out some sort of discount for it. So, yep, let's continue here. Where to start? Cover a little bit of Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin just hit a high of $108,400. So arguably looking at some back tests on this. Even up as high as, let's just double check here first. Yeah, so even have this going up, arguably here to here next. Move this guy up some. So what we just done here on looks like QQQ's rolling over a little bit, so on and so forth. A couple other things. I should bring up the market internals as well. Where's that at? There it is. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a roll on the FANG names. Obviously, the MAC on that's all negative. So a lot of your major market cap stocks are selling right now, which is creating that top and that roll on the market for the time being. Yeah, I mean, right now we have maybe a short-term long target on Bitcoin back into the 107,194 to 107,400. Really, what we were looking for here most recently was a back test of this 5-minute structure, which is, it was posted in our Discord. It's nothing crazy, but we have just completed our 5-minute back test structure. That's why, the stream had the bullseye right here, and now I've moved it to here because this will be the next long in sequence. Obviously, if this does not fall apart, that's where we're obviously going to go, which again is dumb saying it because obviously if market just keeps going up, then that's where we're going to go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's normal, right? It's very normal that if you get a knife like this, and it's similar to what we saw here. See how we got a nice knife, and then the market bounces and retraces. As it's bouncing and retracing, it's coming down and attacking those levels. So it's the same thing you're seeing here. We have a nice knife, and then we have a 5-minute structure down, and it's just the market bouncing back to those levels, right? So we've completed that 5-minute long. So anyways, that is that. This is nothing too crazy. This is all very micro stuff when it comes to Bitcoin, but we still have targets on the market to the upside, which again, taking some time, but that, what do you expect? Trying to get the market all the way up to 130 to 145,000 right now. Oh, sorry, wrong screen. My bad, y'all. I got to remember to hit that hot button there. My apologies. So yeah, this is what I meant. Here was, I was looking at Bitcoin, and we have there's a lot of this going on, so I can just clean this up because I don't need it anymore. But that was all from earlier. So obviously Bitcoin went through this pull. We hit at 600 or 108,000, pulled all the way back down to 105,000. Everyone's just losing their mind and just straight sheer panic. And here we are to save the day, with a nice little bounce. So again, after this nice shelf dive, we were looking for the market to go back to here at least. That's the 5-minute structure. So this bounce simply just retraced the 5-minute sell wave or sell move is really it, right? So if the 5-minute selling trend were going to continue to sell off and have resistance, we'd expect it to happen right there, which is obviously the last top in this little move right here. Yeah. So just a 5-minute long back to this level. That was all that was. And now, as we were just talking about, with the continuation breakout over the 5-minute, we're going to target into the 15 and the 30 next, so on and so forth, actively seeking out the next resistance. And if no resistance is to be found, then we just go choo-choo back on the upside. But right now, we're actively looking for the bounce back up to lower high, because the 5-minute and all that stuff says so in the micro. In the long term, we're looking for 130 to 145,000 anyways. So it's like, we don't really care if there's a lower high in here. It's just, that's just what the chart says in the mac or in the micro time frame. So if you're going to watch the stuff in some of the micro, this is what you're expecting, a long back up to the 5s, 15, 30. And if the market finds some resistance and puts in a lower high, then, there you go. Otherwise, it just keeps going up, all right? Again, this is pretty small stuff for Bitcoin because it moves in values of thousands at this point. Which, I mean, these bounces aren't really small. I mean, some of these bounces will be, on micro Bitcoins, those are going to be, 300, 400, 500 points or whatever. So again, I just want to come out and just kind of reiterate things a little bit. So since the market's below the 50 SMA, it really is, the market is in negative territory. So maximum long bounce would be back to the 50 SMA. That's because you don't look for an oversold bounce higher than the 50 SMA, because if it wanted to, it could stay in a downtrend. So whenever you're on the negative side, you're really looking back to the 50, and then if you get over it, then you can look more to the upside. So it's kind of like a two-step thing. You can look back to the 50, and then if over, you can look higher. But you just can't do that for now. Sorry that the camera's not on. Like I said before, I had it unplugged today on accident, and then I started the stream, and now it's just not uploading, so I'll have to close down OBS, which means I'd have to stop the stream and then redo all of this, and we're just not going to be doing that, you know what I mean, jelly beans? Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of the micro stuff here on the SPY, because that's really what's left to do. So 1 second, actually, let me bring this guy up, and that's going to be all the way there. Let me take a look at my extended trading hours, because that's going to be right there. Yeah, so that's probably about good. Even that initial here. I'm going to take this guy off. If I'm ever talking to myself, just, don't worry about it. Just leave me be. Yeah. What was I doing? Yeah, going back to extended trading hours. And the market is still holding over. The way I see it is if the market is over this right here, this like zone, it makes it easier for it to squeeze off some more. But again, we got a little bit of a one minute reversal thingy, magooster here. So we're going to be anchoring from the top down so that we know where the lower high attempt is created. And that's right here. So again, you can see here how the 1 minute chart slammed down. We look for the market to do what? A 1 minute retrace back to VWAP. And if the market wants to do a lower high, this is generally where it's attempted. Oh my goodness, it's a miracle. How did that possibly happen? Now that the market is actually doing a little bit of a tickle magoosh and puts this bad boy to the low, to the low. So that means we're probably going to hit this support if we haven't already. Okay, yep. So that may, yeah, I'm just adding to it, right? So we know that if we look at our last dip here, we stopped it out. So you can kind of see that if I take off all this other stuff, right? So we talked about, popping up the 1 minute, doing a little bit of a lower high there because that's just what it says. And then you can see how the last dip here was created off our nice low. So we've effectively stopped out everyone that longed this dip. They got stopped out here on that candle. We flushed them. And let's just double check this. They're probably at max pain right now. Not quite, but pretty much. Max pain would be down to 604.46. So we know that if we take this to 604.46 here, so again, watch out, there might be a little bit of a pop here. When I say pop, it's just because if we think about the last dip in the volume weighted average price, we effectively stopped that out, then just ran it almost all the way to the lower band, which would be the max pain lower distribution of this long move. So I'm going to highlight the long move in a box to the top. So everyone that longed this, and obviously anyone who longed at the top, they've been well underwater on that move. But it's just the concept of volume being, if you were to take everything from this long from the bottom, the volume weighted average price would be, again, about 604.71, and then bringing them down right there would be like max pain. So they're all pissed off for sure. Anyone who longed that move, just absolutely getting McSpanky McDoodled. All right. So now it's, you know, when I say now, it's just what's next in sequence. So now it's pretty much here. So we're going to take this down to here. So that little yellow box. Kind of expect to move into there, maybe even a little bit of maybe some holding here. I'm only looking at one chart right now. VIX is doing a little bit of a bouncer booster, McGee. Yeah, I mean, we have the FANG going down right now, so you pretty much would need those to maybe chill out a little bit, and then the market will kind of stop selling so hard. So when we start to get a little bit of a positive MAC cross on the FANG, maybe I'll talk about it. But right now the market is, it's not so positive in that regard. So not really surprised the market kind of pulled there pretty good. All right, so right now what we're at is we're at the low of day bounce support. So naturally you wouldn't expect this just breaks down right away. A lot of times there can be a little bit of a pickup, just like you saw. And then again, if you look at to your left, you have previous chart structure here. So to sell the move all the way through this low without someone trying a bounce, it's not as likely. And then not to mention that low point right there, the absolute low of that candle comes off some of our volume weighted average price system to the upside, which really just as simple as saying, hey guys, there was a huge long that took place here. We're tracking the volume of it in the VWAP, and it suggests that this is the uptrend of that move. Hence bounce, right? But it's weaker this time around than it was here, right? Because this was, up, first attempt in, arguably bounce, now rolling down in. It's not as good as the previous. Obviously, because if this was super strong, why did it bounce and then come all the way back down? Right? You'd imagine it would bounce and maybe stay halfway and then keep going if it was strong. Hence, the concept of the more times something tests a level, the more its support is completely false. Because again, if it was really good support, it probably wouldn't be testing it multiple times. It probably would have got picked up with a lot of demand and then just kept going, right? But anyways, that's neither here nor there, right? So that's that. And maybe even the 5 minute, that would be our next big one. So if for whatever reason the market holds up here, we'll see. And when I say holds up, I mean like holds up and doesn't create a new low, because obviously it's already held up and it's bounced a little bit, but that's obvious, like a little scalpy poppy stuff. But obviously if we take out the 1 minute structure, we're then going to look down here to about the 5 minute. So, pretty much those that control the market watching our stream, if you want to break the 1 minute down, send it down to the 5 minute. It's totally normal, totally doable. And you could still even hold a bounce there too, but, so. It would also be good to double check the Qs here, because the Qs, if the Qs is below, so the Qs is already washed its 5 minutes, so it's debatable. We might use the SPY 5 minute and then allow a bounce on the Qs. But as I already said too, again, a lot of this of what we're getting, we kind of want to see some positivity here on the market internals for your FANG, which I think I don't know, let me double check. Yeah, so again, I'll zoom in. If I could ever zoom in. Why is it not working? I don't know. It's just not. It's cool. All right, sweet. Really, really appreciate it, Thinkorswim. You're only like a good bazillion-dollar company and you still can't make this shit work good. Okay. Anyways, we just got a little positive MAC cross there on the FANG. Again, it came after a pretty big sell wave. bottom line, you can see how the market just popped a little bit. So we're seeing a slight transition on the FANG, a little bit. It's the first positive cross we've had in a little bit. You know, sometimes they last longer, sometimes they don't. Again, it's MAC, it's momentum. It doesn't tell the truth every single time. It does give you some edge. It's not the holy grail, so on and so forth. But you did just get a little positive there. So that tells us that if we were to go look at the FANG names, clearly they're going to be getting a little bit of a bounce. See how the Qs is finally starting to come up? That's because there's actually positivity in the underlying markets that allow for it to go up. Before that little positive MAC cross, most of your FANG names were selling down. So go look at your Qs. Obviously, it's selling down. I mean, duh. 1 + 1 = 3, right? So, you know, oh, look at positive MAC pump there. What happens to the Qs? It goes up a little bit. What's happening to the SPY? It's bouncing a little bit. Where's the SPY bouncing? Bouncing off that 1 minute lower low. You know, a lot of these things are going to tend to line up like that. So right now, the SPY is bouncing. If you bought into this bounce, this is probably a good spot to sell for a scalp, just in the sense that you're probably hitting the 1 minute top down now. So if I were to bring this VWAP down, you will see that, you see how we just hit it right there? Doink. 1 second. I know there's a lot here, but again, if we track the micro chart and we go to the previous high and track it down, we just ran into the VWAP of that. So a lot of times that will be your counter long target for a micro trade, right? So you can see how we used, right? So look at this. So you see how we use the FANG here. Let me bring, yeah, that's kind of working. So yeah, you see how we use the FANG, positive MAC and the micro to run up really just 1, 2, 3 candles so far, which is really just probably us increasing Apple, maybe not. Nvidia, see Nvidia's got 3 candles up. Microsoft, couple little green candles recently. Google had a couple green candles there. Amazon, couple green candles. Meta, couple green. Tesla, definitely some green there. Netflix, some green there. Yeah. So it doesn't look like much, but look at, you have a couple green there. You know, a couple green on Tesla, couple green on Meta. Just those couple green, and I'm not saying this is amazing, right? But I'm just saying just those couple green candles across your major market cap stocks can, you know, make a difference. What am I doing? I'm done. All right, so a couple of those major market cap players moving up can help increase markets like that. So, yeah. So again, you can go look at your QQQ, nice little bounce there. SPY, a little something, nothing crazy, so on and so forth. Why can't, oh, that's right, because I got to get used to using this freaking hotkey. I'm totally not amazing with it. Anyways, we're not going to repeat all that. I apologize for that. But it's really just, again, it was simply this. I guess maybe I will repeat it. But again, you can see how we got a little bit of a positive MAC cross here on your FANG names. Again, this is a combined ticker of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, all the big guys, right? So you got a little bit of a bounce there. And as a result, you can see your Q's got a little bit of a bounce here. And again, that was all built off the back of Apple getting a couple green candles, Nvidia, a couple green candles, Microsoft, barely nothing, Google, really not much, right? They just all went through this little bounce, which is causing those Qs to at least give you some bit of a bounce there. All I see is dark mountains, absolutely. So, nonetheless, that's pretty much it. And your market is just a little bit bearish today because you're in a bearish sell move since 4 a.m. Market hasn't triggered to go back to the long side quite yet. We have an oversold bounce. And even still, you know, like I was saying earlier, I'm like, I think it's going to reset, or we're going to have catch up to the 50 SMA. And look at that. We still got a nice red candle down here. And again, that's just ultimately, to do that is against the trend. So until we get back to a positive territory, the trend is really bearish, unless for whatever reason you fully believe it's going to reset. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty basic stuff, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe not basic stuff. How does IWM look? I don't know, but I'm going to assume down. Down. That was my first time looking at it today, and first time in a while. So yeah, same thing with IWM. IWM entered a selling move today, so this probably happened right around the same time as the SPY, I'd imagine. Can't say for sure, but yep, right about 4 a.m. they dumped it into a sell move. Again, you can see it's right there. The 4 a.m. candle, that broke down support. Go to the 30-minute, which we had to go to regular trading hours, but go to... wait, that's actually wrong. That was the pre-market one. My apologies. It would be the back test yesterday. So I made a mistake there. Sorry. It would be here. So that means it's been in a breakdown since... It's been breaking down for a while, but its most recent rejection was here. So if we take this to a 5-minute, this was the last rejection on the IWM, and so the market would be trying to get positive, can't get positive, so then it re-breaks down here, goes negative, and then oversold bounce, back to trend, cannot get positive, trend rejects again going into this morning, accompanied by a SPY breakdown here today. So yeah, it's just negative. So you should just wait till it goes back to positive if you want to be long biased. Kind of like you saw, you know, here, or here, 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 etc., etc., etc. You can at least give yourself some better odds if you want to play that. Crazy B, have a good one, brother. Have a good one, brother. It's a good one. I'm loving these new thumbnails. I'm kind of enjoying it. Kind of having fun every day trying to make a new thumbnail for the description of the market. It's kind of good. You know, today's is pretty good, I gotta say. Everyone's crying. The market's going down. No one knows why. Probably because something on the news said so. Who knows? All right. Actually, let's check the news. Has the news done anything as of recent? Anything different? Let's see. Stock market news today. Dow falls more than 100 points as index poised for first 9-day losing streak. Right? Which is kind of funny in a way, because the other day someone asked me to look at the Dow and we're like, yeah, it's in a sell signal. It's not in a buy signal, right? And now here we are a couple days later reading it's been, 100 points down, first 9-day losing streak in a while. Stock market today, S&P 500, NASDAQ slide ahead of Fed meeting kickoff. It's the Fed meeting kicking off, and that's why the market's going down. It has to be. It has to simply be the market. It's the Fed. Why didn't I think of that one before? If only I would have known it was the Fed, then I knew the market was bearish. The Dow is in danger of doing something it hasn't done since 1978. Oh my lord, sell me on as much fear as you possibly can. I want to go to bed at night and have nightmares and be terrorized. Terrorize me harder, CNN, please. Please, CNN, terrorize my life with fear headlines. So scared. 1978, world's gonna end. Dow Jones falls as these 2025 risks loom. Nvidia dives on Microsoft news. It must be Nvidia and Microsoft. It's no longer the thing with the Dow that hasn't happened from 1978. 4 hours ago it was 1978. Now it's Microsoft and Nvidia. Fear me from every angle. It's a good time. It's a good time. If you couldn't tell, that was me reading headlines and reacting very emotionally to the headlines. They really got me going. They really got the juices flowing, if you know what I mean. I would love to come on stream and say there's more, but there isn't. It's just, Bitcoin to 135,000, 145,000. Would you say buy and sell signals have nothing to do with the fundamentals? Are you talking about individual equities, or maybe are you talking about the markets, like an index? Because there would be, I guess, two different ways that I answer that, depending on if it was individual and, But, fundamentals do matter. Absolutely. But, so yeah, when it comes to the indexes, when you say the fundamentals, no, the fundamentals don't matter in the sense that the SPY doesn't have its own fundamentals. It would be the fundamentals of every company. So there isn't really the fundamentals of the SPY, because those come from all the other companies. So obviously, if the fundamentals break down on Microsoft and Google and all of those companies' fundamentals just went to trash, then yeah, the S&P 500 would go into a sell signal, obviously, because the major market cap stocks are all getting destroyed because their companies are fundamentally becoming not good. Then yeah, the fundamentals do matter in that regard, but that's pretty much just that. So whenever you see a sell move, a sell signal, or a buy signal on the market, it's merely just a trend turning positive, and money is just moving into the markets to get profit, or limit risk. On a sell move, it will take profit or stop out, and so on and so forth. So that money that's being traded in and out of the SPY in that regard doesn't really have much to do with the fundamentals of the company. Now, the long-term price of the S&P will always balance out and reflect that generally of the fundamentals of the underlying markets. So there can be, and that's hence the short term, don't get caught up in the short term, and the long term is always supposed to be a representation, of how the economy and how all the companies are doing together as a whole. So a short term sell move today is not going to hold weight against the long term balancing of the S&P 500 as it relates to all the companies in it. So, we merely use the 30-minute as the short-term buy and sell signal operation for short-term trading and short-term analysis purposes to understand how we are most likely going to move the major markets in real time. But that is not a good reflection of what the markets will be as it relates to anything long-term or fundamental underlying equities, or the fundamentals of the underlying equities. That's a lot of big words there. I know. Pretty much no. Short-term buy and sell signals have nothing to do with fundamentals. It has to do with us basically trying to move the market the way we want based off a trend. And that's that. DJ Tizzle McGizzle, a little DJ Tiz Daddy. DJ Trump Tech, man, I haven't looked at this in a hot minute. That's a lie, I looked at it the other day, but other than that, a hot minute. So yeah, it looks like it started an uptrend kind of thing here. Been uptrending since. 30 minutes currently positive, so you got that going for you. The daily's positive, so you got that going for you. The weekly's obviously then positive. Yep, so you got that going for you. Again, I know nothing of the fundamentals here. Yeah, maybe it wants to break out. It has a lot of work to break out if you're talking about price structures. It's not a terrible setup by any means. I can already see, you've started an uptrend on the daily, so one's probably fibbing this out like this. There's a portion of the market that's hoping that this Fibonacci plays out, and if so, we can get an $81 move, and so on and so forth. So I could see how, people would be setting up this Fibonacci here on the weekly and hoping for that to play out. If we look at the daily chart here, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, from here to here. So I get it. I see it. All I can say is, you just need the uptrends to hold. So as long as the uptrends hold, you're okay. So if you're going for, hopefully a big breakout or something like that, you need your long-term charts to hold up. And when I say long-term, and the reason I say that is because generally you can't get a big move to work unless the long-terms hold. So you can see we have the uptrend start over the daily, the pullback. Now you have a fib structure, high-low. You're holding above the daily 50 SMA, so you're coming up, right? If longs are going to keep working in the immediate, you'd want to see something like that daily hold, just like back here, right? So you can kind of see here. You had this, the DJT breaks down the daily, and then it never really gets over the daily until here, and you have a pretty strong pop, but then it comes back down, and then it fails. And so in this situation, if we go all the way back here in DJT, and again, looking at the past isn't always the best representation of the future because, anything can happen in that regard, but, someone could have very easily been looking at this here and said, I'm going to do a fib from here to here, like that previous whatever, right? So they would then be looking for the market, and I'll just do it to like right here. They would be looking for the market to go up to maybe that 161. And I would say, yeah, well, I can kind of see the reversal. I can see why you'd run a fib here. Maybe it has follow through, but I would just ultimately say you need the long-term trend to stay positive. And if it doesn't, you're going to struggle. And then that would be the long-term trend breaking down. So if I zoom back in, right? This would be DJT a while ago, right? Using this past example. Hey, what do you think of DJT? Oh, I see a Fibonacci, and I can see why people want to go to 161. You got to make sure the long-term trends stay up, and it fails the long-term trend right there. Okay, that's that's a daily. There's also the weekly and whatever else, but so when we come over to where we're at now, I can see, yes, we've had a pretty nice reversal on DJT, probably built off the back of him becoming president, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, is it because DJT really should be going up, or is it because people are just hyping up and just trying to make a quick buck? If people are just trying to make a quick buck, you know, that's another story, which most likely is people trying to make a quick buck. Doesn't mean momentum can't persist. So yeah, what we have here is we have DJT, nice reversal up, pull back, holding above the daily 50 SMA. So the daily uptrend is holding, which is this, right? So we were down, then up, and now above. That's a daily higher low based off daily uptrend start. Right, you can see that, right? We were down, then we flipped to up on the daily, and that's a daily higher low. WW daily. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're lucky, you're gonna get $80, I guess. Another thing you would even consider here is the weekly. So you can see the weekly. You just got positive on the weekly. That's big, right? That's very helpful for the long. Does it mean the market works? I mean, I have no idea. Markets do whatever they want, but again, you got above the daily. Or sorry, the weekly 50 SMA here too. So if we go into look at a 1 minute, or not a 1 minute, sorry, let's do like a 30 minute or something right here. So, wait, let me go back to that 1 second. Yeah, you regain. Yeah, you basically just got back over that weekly. It broke out a while ago, and I could even put a level there too, just because. We'll do an hourly chart here. So this would be where you broke above the weekly the last time. So right here. So this would have been into weekly long-term 50 SMA. This would be the market breaking out of the weekly 50 SMA on the long term. And then the long-term chart goes into an uptrend, blows up, right? Market sells all the way back down to back test the weekly 50 SMA, bounce, and then it goes negative, blah, blah, blah. Then you do a reversal, and then you just broke back out the weekly 50 SMA right here. There's your breakout, and then there's your back test, and then there's your long push off. So you have short-term trend working in your favor, long-term trend working in your favor currently. How long that persists is as good as anyone's guess. Let's take a look at our friend Bitcoin. Little bit of Bitcoin. Let's go, little buddy. I really just need Bitcoin to get to those long targets, not for the money. For the Twitter account, we gotta save the Twitter account. Trump, I mean, yeah, I didn't actually read that portion of what you said earlier, Johnny Scott. You may know more than me. From the little knowledge I have on that, I would say it's pretty, for Trump to buy TikTok, that's pretty much impossible. I just don't see that. Not a chance. So, yeah, personally. Honestly, the world would be better off if Trump didn't buy TikTok, because the company is probably going to be run far better without Trump's involvement than it would be with. I mean, the guy's the president. He's got his own social media company. real estate, Mar-a-Lago, and all this and so on and so forth. So there's, you know, probably best not to give him another task, to be honest. So I'm not sure what that is. I'd have a hard time trusting that fully, that would come to fruition, personally. But again, like I said, I guess I know nothing on it. Have a good day, Johnny. You too, brother. INTC, yeah, INTC's really been getting beaten for some time now, honestly. Again, I don't know much about the fundamentals. I don't know if they're hemorrhaging cash. I don't know if people are buying their products or if their products are being used in as many computers as they were before. Again, these are all questions I would arguably be asking, if you wanted to be a sole individual investor into Intel, right? But as far as trend goes, we can see the trend is negative. So, you know, like back here, this was in 2023, we got an uptrend on the weekly, and so then it lasted for, you know, May to April, almost about a year. So March, April, May. Yeah, the uptrend lasted almost a year there, before breaking back down. So right now we're in a downtrend. So if, you know, you're looking at, you know, Intel, you might wait for an uptrend start there. If you think it's going to bottom, maybe you start to grab a little bit. But if you're looking for, you know, something like Intel to recover and hopefully perform, you know, decently well, you'd probably want a little bit of a weekly uptrend start, daily uptrend start, things like that, which it doesn't currently have. And I know it's kind of boring to say all this stuff because it's literally just one moving average and that's it. So it's like, yeah, all it takes is like 2 seconds to look at the chart and be like, yeah, well, the long is not favorable right now, unless for whatever reason you think it's oversold and it's going to bounce and so on and so forth. I mean, if they just came out with some news, you know, never know. Market can use that as like short-term stuff, but I mean, you can see right here, you know, we just had a little bit of a long on the 30 minutes. So the same way that we would say, you know, oh, the daily's up, or, you know, you want to get a weekly uptrend, this is just short-term, right? So if you're looking at like some trading stuff, like here would be Intel, which I know this is by no means easy, but here you got to break over. So you got the 30-minute positive, and then you can even see, here's your flag pattern, and there's your breakout. So that's market finally getting some love over the 50, ends up in a bull flag, and then breaks out, you know. And that was really, you know, for 2050 to 2110, so it's 60 cents, right? Nothing crazy. It's not like that was an amazing move by any means, but there's a little bit of love there on the 30-minute with our friend Snapple. Alrighty, it looks like Bitcoin's finally getting a little bit of resistance off that top. And it's not even that great, but we'll see if it has some follow through here. Finally got our 30-minute toppy and Magooster McGee. That's usually a pretty decent guy, so right now we got Bitcoin getting a little bit of sell there at the 30-minute. We'll see if it has some follow through. And when I say follow through, like actually catch some resistance here and roll down. And if not, I'm totally cool with it. I don't care if it does or doesn't. I'd rather it not and just keep going. But this would be a sell off and then back test the 30-minute. So if we catch bid resistance and we roll down, and if the 30-minute were to catch resistance, again, we would normally just be looking back to, it's kind of an odd setup. I don't really want to go over that one. It would just basically back down into some 1 and some 5-minute stuff, but yeah, it's kind of pointless, really. Yeah, I mean, the short-term uptrend for Intel is really, it's not, it wasn't anything all that great. All right, let's go back to the SPY. What's going on here? Oh, you know, just hanging out, just doing its thing. Oh, looks like we went and got our 5-minute VWAP. We pretty much did. Remember we talked about getting down to the 5-minute, and which you can see there, it pretty much did. We shied it by about a penny. The top side, that is. So that's your 5-minute VWAP long. Already was your 5-minute VWAP long. Obviously, we've taken out the high day. So yeah, this would be, so this is a situation with the Dow where you should pretty much start looking at some of those stocks in the Dow along with the Dow, because obviously it's been on this extended sell-off, so obviously some of those are going to be beat down. So you should really, that's another good idea, would be looking for some uptrend starts on some of those stocks along with the Dow. So really what you would end up doing is tracking a lot of the Dow Jones, and I can bring them up too, and maybe we'll just do that here on this stream, but before getting into that, you would really just be looking at get a handful of the Dow stocks that you like, that you think would be the most beneficial, which could be, and arguably you wouldn't want to use the most oversold, because again, a lot of times the ones that are the most oversold because they should be. So you'd really want to look for the ones that kind of have some relative strength within this sell-off, and then those that are just getting beat down, maybe somewhat, you know, normal and not so aggressive, and then those would generally be some of the stronger bouncers in the turnaround. So we'll maybe look at some of that here in a bit. TLT, yeah, sure, yeah. So yeah, and actually, this is a good. Wait, hold on. This is a good example of the fib structure, just like we did on DJT. I did one here, which probably wasn't totally correct. Clearly, we didn't fully reverse, but, well, I mean, it's fine, but, see, I was running a fib like this on a TLT to see if we would end up running up to the 161, and clearly you can see this is kind of failing. We got over the weekly, failed the weekly, it's just not working. So, yeah, TLT right now is not doing so hot. I mean, yeah, you really need the Feds to cut rates for this to keep working to the long side. So, yeah, and or interest rates to come down. Right now, if you look at the 10-year, 10-year is still staying up. So I'm even running this fib here on the rates. And my projection is arguably, if everything, yeah, basically if everything got screwed up and we really just screwed ourselves, I'm looking at, 7.8% on the 10-year, and then, 7.8% on the 10-year, which means you're going to be getting mortgages and people will be financing stuff at 10 to 12. I hope that is entirely wrong. And again, that's just some little Fibonacci. It carries no weight on the decisions that they make, and employment and all those, which are big factors for the market. So just because I have a Fibonacci doesn't really mean a whole lot. But it is mathematical, Fibonacci, which basically suggests that the impulsive move here can also have structure up to 7.7. Yeah, so even though the Fed's cut rates, unless the actual yield on the bonds follows suit, then TLT will struggle. Okay? You really need, you really need the bond yields to come down for TLT to go up in that regard. And so, yeah, just because the Fed cuts rates, right, doesn't mean that the yields on the bonds have to go down. All right, so if people, again, if people aren't willing to take on that new debt and people continue buying into the old debt because the yields are higher, again, you're not going to see these things drop. Yeah, so again, I'm not the biggest pro in the bond market and things, but I mean, I've definitely had to study it for CMT and things like that, so I've gotten a pretty good knowledge of it. And even this has been a little bit of a learning curve too, and learning period with them raising rates like this, and then going through the cutting cycle, and even cutting, and then seeing the 10-year yield not come down, things like that. So it just tells us that the underlying bond market is like, nah. And Semper right there said ourselves again. We don't really expect a recession until 2026. So, and then once 2026 happens, we'll probably have a recession. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, who knew?" And it's gonna be like, "Well, I mean, there were a couple." Um, I don't know. I feel like they're programming it pretty good for 2026. We'll see. But yeah, we expect there's going to be a market decrease somewhere nearing 2026 into 2026, something like that. The crystal ball prediction, which so far crystal ball has been pretty crystal, so hopefully it continues like that. The crystal ball is saying it for 2024. Whose crystal ball? What crystal ball? Maybe CNBC's crystal ball. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's really not a whole lot to say here. I mean, I really just hope we just wake up and Bitcoin's at the price target so we can all just cheer and throw one of these little cool party hats on the screen. Whee! Oh, that was the news. Kramer's crystal ball. Whee! Whee! I live on fear. Everything all I want is for CNBC and CNN and Fox. I want them to turn on the fear pump non-stop. I live for it. Inject it straight into my veins. Nothing else. Don't give me joy. Don't give me happiness. Don't give me hope. Just crush my dreams and sell me fear. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's log chart this bad boy. I wonder. I mean, I do wonder a bit. Let's see. I don't know if it works on here like that. Let's see. Dang it. I really should just, stop being a little penny pincher and sign up for the paid version, but that's what I thought. Yeah, it gets all out of whack when you do it like that. But still, it does come in at... It's still the same targets. Huh. Yeah, we're going to take this back off log. We're going to take that back off the old log, daddy. All shrighty then. I know. I wish I had something cooler to say, but I don't. BRT. We predicted the markets to the billions today. To the billions. There's nothing more to say. We woke up this morning. We looked at the stock market and we said it's going down. And it's going down to 6,039 on the SPX. There's nothing left to say. We said, you said, he said, she said, we all said. So yeah, I think we're probably pretty good to end the stream here. I don't really see a need to sit here any longer and talk to you guys, even though I love you. There's really, again, not much to say here other than just a sell signal, and we repeat the same process almost every single day. Market's either bullish or market's either bearish. If we got a gap, we look for it to go to gap targets. If we got an algo, we look for it to go to algo targets. As long as the trend is bearish, we don't flip bullish. So with that being said, Bitcoin, 135,000, 140,000, something like that. Or we just end up running out the course of the bull cycle and then we'll flip bearish. And yeah. Also, the sell targets for Bitcoin are still at, right now, like 44,000. So just because, it's all rosy right now, we still have some long-term sell targets to 44,000. So that is something to keep in mind. Got to pump the pennies, baby. Got to pump the pennies. The only way to do, you got to be up at like literally 4 in the morning every single day if you want to involve yourself in the penny stock market correctly. And I just don't have the energy to be up at 4 a.m. I really don't. But yeah, if you want to involve yourself correctly in the penny stock world, then you have to be up at 4 a.m. right when the market opens, because that's when they like to set off the algos and pump the penny stocks. And then, because again, they know most people use like TOS or whatnot, or most don't have sophisticated brokers, so that most individuals don't have access to trading at 4 a.m. Also, they just know most of you won't get up at 4 a.m. So if they don't want you involved, they're going to do it in the early wee hours or into the market close in random after hours, because we know most of you have gone by then. So they like to trigger their algorithms to pump the penny stock, which is all pre-planned and designed. And so they run pumps on the penny stocks in the after hours and into the early morning hours, usually when you're asleep or you don't have the brokers that will allow you to facilitate such trading in the first place. So that's when they run them, and then also they blow them up to really high prices by about the time you guys that have the 7 a.m. brokers like TOS can get involved. They've already blown them up, right? So it's all a big game there, which is completely fine. You just kind of have to understand how that game operates. So if you want to, really get in on the pumps, you got to be up at 4 a.m. and you have to manually go through all the stocks that are triggering buy algos in the early wee hours, and that's really it. Anyways, so with that being said, you guys take care. I ain't selling no shit coins. I'm either going to zero. I've already held to the last bear market, so I'm either going to zero or we're going to Valhalla. So, I've already prepped myself. I've woosawed the 43,000, 44,000 sell target. I've already planned. We know it can happen. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But if it does happen, it's less of fine. I'll be okay. But yeah, we already traded in the last bull market, held a bunch of stuff all through the last bear market. And now held and bought up pretty much this entire bull market. And we've pretty much rode this entire thing till now. And so, even still, getting to 130, 145,000 isn't going to convince me to sell. It just tells me that we're probably at, an area where selling is going to occur. But then I would just be waiting for the next 43, 44, 50, 60 buy bottom and then be loading, down there. So, they're not going to shake me and bake me. Anyways, you guys have a good one. Stay classy, San Diego. Stay classy.